Good evening, my children of the night.
You mean the moviegoers of the night?
Oh yes, that's what I mean.
Well, good evening and welcome to R&B Reviews. Today I am joined by
Dorbius,
and I guess I'm Robius.
Robius,
yes,
from Transylvania.
Now we just got out of seeing a sneak preview for the movie Morbius, and of course we're just to the tease. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can tell from the camera angle, I'm wearing this shirt that's got Bela Lugosi's Dracula right there.
Spooky.
Yeah, yes. So we got out of seeing the movie Morbius, and
we did.
Yes, we did, and hopefully we'll have a nice conversation about this.
Yeah.
But for those of you that don't know anything about Morbius or the character, the movie does star Jared Leto as Michael Morbius.
Yes, it does.
Yes, and he's a scientist that is trying to find a cure for a fatal blood disease that's been plaguing him since childhood. So he does all kinds of experiments, and he decides one day to fuse his DNA with vampire bat DNA to cure him and his childhood friend Lucian, who Morbius nicknames Milo, played by Matt Smith. And this fusion, it gives him the super speed, super strength, and appetite for blood as well. That's only temporarily satisfied by
getting hungry.
Yeah. That's satisfied by this artificial substitute that Morbius has developed. So when Morbius becomes a full-out vampire, you can imagine he drains the blood from people, and there's 2 police detectives on his trail. But this movie has been delayed quite a number of times. I'm looking at the list here.
Too many times.
Too many times. Like, it was supposed to be released July 31st of 2020, but because of the pandemic affecting attendance at the movie theaters, it was pushed back to March 19th of 2021, then January 11th, 2021, and then January 28th of 22, and now April Fool's Day, it's getting its release. So do you feel like this movie was an April Fool's prank, Dorbius?
I don't think so that much, because it was actually better than what I expected it to be. You know, it got delayed so much, and then there was just so much hype behind it, and then after like a couple weeks before it comes out, it just like drops. You know, like the director, that Daniel Espinosa, he goes on Twitter and he spoils the plot and all that, and I just didn't really appreciate that. And then you got TikTokers like saying that Sony doesn't care about the movie anymore, and they're just going with whatever it is. And to be honest, this movie did start out really good for me, like really, really good. Towards just like after the middle, there was like really no climax to the movie. It just went downhill.
Yeah. I remember seeing the trailers for this movie. I know you were more hyped for it, but I was like,
I was. Yeah,
I watched it. I thought it looks okay. I mean, I kind of side to a certain extent with what some people are saying. I feel like this movie takes place in what was called the Spider-Man-less universe, like with Venom, but because of what we got in Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and in the recent Spider-Man movie, that may not be the case anymore. They kind of crossed over a little bit, but yeah, I thought, you know, this movie looks okay. You said that it started out good. Now, I thought the movie was watchable, but I thought it was kind of bland. I thought the technical side, for the most part, I thought was good, like the camera angles, especially in the opening shots.
Yeah, those were great. I do agree.
And I thought the story setups for Morbius and Lucian was, you know, enough where you see them in the hospital and you learn a little bit about their disease. I thought that helped, you know, get us enough information to get the story out there. Yeah, there was attempts, I think, to try to, like, there's one scene where they're trying to show a bit of intelligence where Morbius and his assistant, Martine Bancroft, played by Aria Ajorna, where they're talking about, you know, like pushing boundaries. Morbius says that it's necessary, and she says there's got to be a cost, but except for those few good elements, I thought the movie didn't really have any suspense, and I didn't really care about the characters at all. and I know we're going to talk about, you know, Matt Smith a little bit here, but I kind of cared about his character to a certain extent. Yes, in the beginning I did, but then afterwards I feel like it got lost. But Jared Leto, I think out of everyone, gave the best performance. I just love his facial expressions, and thought that he put so much into this performance with so little that he got from the script. But sometimes he sounded bland, and the dialogue just felt like one-dimensional to me. It just felt, I mean, it was, to me, it was what I was expecting. It was just okay.
Well, I mean, I thought, you know, just half the movie was just kind of like figuring out like how he can cope with his disease, and, you know, to find a solution for it. And then when Matt Smith entered, that's kind of like where everything just fell apart for me. Obviously, like he wanted the same like serum and all that, so he could be cured as well, you know. And I mean, I did really like that part, but when he actually became the main villain, that's where I kind of just was like, nah, you know, this is Hollywood once again taking creative license. Like I said in many reviews, that's how the X-Men got ruined, the Fantastic Four got ruined. In the comics, Morbius was created in 1972. It was when Marvel Comics was in publication, and Stan Lee wanted to do something different than Dracula, but they kind of went with like the same series. He actually emerged as a villain for Spider-Man. They did put in like where he was born was Greece, and he was born to a single mother, and we really didn't see that, but we saw it kind of more like an orphanage, if anything, and that part really worked well for me, because we really got an introduction to, you know, Lucian, Matt Smith, but, you know, that part worked. And when he was experimenting, that worked for me.
Yeah, I love the montage after he just gets his powers. Right. You know, I love that when he's experimenting.
But just, again, like when Matt Smith becomes that villain, because there is nowhere in the whole Morbius fanfiction history where that character even exists. And like I said, like this is how everything got ruined by the director taking creative license. And that's exactly what Daniel Espinosa did, and also probably Avi Arad. He was executive producer on many, and then I think he produced this one. And I've noticed when he's involved, a lot of things kind of fall apart a little bit.
But this movie wasn't boring. I mean, the only
thing... It wasn't boring.
No, but I mean, but I felt like I was sitting there and it was going in my head and out. I felt like I didn't... I mean, there's a handful of scenes I remember, but I felt like I didn't care about the characters quite as much as I wanted to. Maybe a little bit, but not as much.
My first exposure to Morbius was actually when he was on Spider-Man, the animated series. And
I need more plasma! I can remember, he kept saying that over and over again. That still sticks in my head.
Yeah, and I mean, he definitely was a cool character there, but he drained the life from his victims by his hands, because like his like fangs were on his hands, and they didn't really go that route with that. And I mean, I like the traditional vampire, you know, just like sinking the things into the victims.
Yeah, I felt like this was PG-13, and it wasn't as gruesome as I thought it could go. There's only one scary scene, and you were sitting next to me where I jumped. The rest of the time, there was like no suspense, no scares.
But the reason why there just was like no suspense is because like they didn't focus like long enough on it. You know, it was kind of like, I mean, the CGI, it definitely needed work with this, but for what we got, I think it was, I think it was par. Really, it wasn't the best CGI that I've seen, especially like with the bats. I liked that he could control bats and just different things with like his bat sonar, and you know, like how he can find different locations. That was really cool, but the CGI really kind of needed some work. For as much as this movie was pushed back. I expected a little bit more, and I know that I'm not the only one that feels this way. I mean, this was supposed to be Marvel's Batman. That's what really kind of disappointed me, because I mean, like you, I did not. Well, unlike you, okay. I did not really enjoy the Batman that much.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed in this, but there were some parts that just really stuck out and were enjoyable.
Yeah, there were some. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like I said, the montage where he's experimenting with his powers and stuff, that was good.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, this movie definitely wasn't as bad as everybody said it was.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read any reviews, but I saw that at IMDb it was at 4.8.
Yeah.
And you said on Rotten Tomatoes it was at 1 star? Was that right?
Yeah, it was like at 1 star, like 10% on the tomato meter. Yeah. I don't know, but
I mean, I don't think this movie is that bad. I don't know if I would say it's necessary. I mean, you could argue that there are 2 mid-credit scenes that might play a role later on.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think this is necessary viewing for Marvel fans. Really,
it's nothing to fly to the theaters for.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have worked so well as a standalone series.
Yeah.
You know, and there is a lot of potential for Morbius, but I think in order for that to happen, Marvel really, he has to be like inducted into the whole MCU Disney side of things to really take off, I think. And like even with the Sony pictures, you know, like Spider-Man No Way Home, they always start in association with Marvel, and I'm just like, okay, just give it to Marvel already, and then we'll have our storyline and everything. I mean, for the most part, the acting on Jared Leto's behalf was great, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
He really drove the character, and he really paid homage to just what the character is.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
And just like who Morbius is, I just wish that Matt Smith, to me, was kind of like Jessica Chastain in Dark Phoenix. He absolutely didn't need to be there, because he's not part of the character's story to begin with. So I had a really big problem with that. Well, and plus he could not escape the whole Doctor. I mean, I basically saw Doctor Who with fangs.
Yeah, I disagree with you that he wasn't needed. I mean, yeah, it would have been interesting to, you know, if it's a movie about, you know, not Doctor Strange, wrong movie, Morbius. if Morbius was, you know, discovering his powers and realizing how over time he needs to have plasma, otherwise he'll turn into this vampire and start attacking people. But I think you need an adversary. I don't know if we could have done a whole movie where he's struggling with himself. I think an adversary was needed.
An adversary definitely was needed,
yeah,
but not a made-up adversary. Okay, this character was made up. The first time I heard of Lucian was like he was kind of like a werewolf, like in the. I'm taken back to like Underworld when I think of Lucian, just the character Lucian, because he's like part werewolf, part vampire, and all that, and they kind of took somewhat of that character from and put him into the Morbius universe here, and I just didn't care for that. Now, what would have been really cool is like J. Jonah Jameson's son in the comics actually turns into Man-Wolf, and I would have loved to see like a werewolf vampire, you know, all-out brawl. Again, you can't. I just hate when characters are just made for the movie and they just don't stick to the comic book. And as a fanboy, I have a really big problem with that. I had a problem with that with Batman, just reinventing villains, and they did the same thing with Matt Smith and Morbius.
Well, I know we talked about it in the Batman review, which you guys should check out, but I like that they refreshed the characters in the Batman and made them different. But I gotta say, I do kind of agree that I feel like Sony just no, I feel like none of the the first Venom movie, it wasn't great, but I thought that they had something going for it, and then unfortunately Venom 2 I felt wasn't very good, and this one wasn't very good. I feel like they're trying to make these movies because they still have the rights, and nobody's got a good grip on it. I think the last time somebody probably, other than the Tom Holland movies, the last time somebody had a good grip on the at Sony with these Spider-Man movies was probably Tobey Maguire. The first Amazing Spider-Man wasn't that bad, but then they tried, to cram so much in the second one, and then all these so-called Spider-Man-less movies like Venom and Morbius, I feel like nobody's got a good grip on that. The last Venom movie was just, I thought was absolutely terrible and everything. It's like nobody had a good grip on it with the script or anything. It was like you're just sitting there, it's going in your head and out, and that's it. You don't care anymore.
You could just pick out like different moments from Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and kind of like remember those moments, but the movie just all falls apart. And Morbius is actually the same way I actually feel, because like there are just some memorable scenes, and then the rest is just
the action scenes,
it just falls apart.
Yeah, the action scenes I thought were bland, and and like I said, with Jared Leto was the only one that I felt like I gave in a good performance. Everybody else I felt like they were just like one-dimensional, bland,
Right. And it ended way too quickly, I think, but there really wasn't any more to go on to even extend this movie. And that's partly what I had a problem with Venom 2, was there needed to be more substance to it, and that's where Morbius lacks is the substance in it. And I mean, the pacing is fine in the beginning, where Venom 2 it was really rushed. So I mean, they have things working against them, really.
Yeah.
So I just I'm definitely saying to stream it if you want to stream it, but it's just not necessary.
I know that's what I'm saying.
In a way, I mean, for the first time.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that I can see possibly coming are those. Like I said, the only thing that I think, and this was actually my favorite part of the movie, was the 2 mid-credits, because they're trying to set something up. Other than these 2 credit scenes, I just don't think this is a movie you need to necessarily see. It's not important like what's going on in the Disney MCU, where every movie is building up towards something. Like things are building up towards Doctor Strange and everything.
I mean, it's not. I'm not a fan of the Sony Marvel universe. I really am not. I know we got Doctor Strange in No Way Home with Spider-Man, but those it just wasn't even really that great if there hadn't been like 3 Spider-Mans in it and Doctor Strange.
Spider-Men! Speak English!
Spider-Man, sorry.
Yeah, well, I think with those Spider-Man movies, I think they're working closely with Marvel, because they are, even though Sony's making them, it still ties in with the other universe, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, with the crossover and stuff. But yeah, these ones are kind of like almost on their own.
Yeah, but like even the end credits scenes, they kind of felt like rushed to me too. Like they're just there, and they're just teasing something that might not even happen, really. Now, in the comics, Morbius does become one of the Midnight Suns, along with like Nomad and Blade, and I know that Blade has a show scheduled for Disney Plus.
Yeah, I thought, isn't he doing a movie too?
Yeah, and I think even Moon Knight joins something like that, or Black Knight, or something like that with the Midnight Suns. Yeah, so for him to I would have loved to see Blade in this movie, as an adversary, because that's kind of like following the comics. Again, Matt Smith just didn't do it for me, really.
Yeah, again, he's trying, but I feel like with Jared Leto, he's not given much to work with.
He's trying, but it's just like Doctor Who. He can't escape that that persona.
It's
and
like Tom Baker.
Right, and that's kind of like a actor's like worst nightmare when they can't escape such an iconic character that they played for like just
years
and years. So and he just can't escape it at this point. In Morbius anyhow. I mean, maybe later on he can, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It just it felt right in some parts, and then it just felt wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, out of 5 stars, how would you rate this movie, Dorbius?
Oh goodness. You know, I am a really big fan of the character itself in the Spider-Man universe. That hasn't happened yet. I'm gonna go with 3.5.
3.5. I'm gonna be slightly less generous. I'm giving it 2.5 stars. I think it's watchable. It's just bland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you have to see this movie, and I'm sure when it comes out on a streaming service, you can skip the movie and watch the 2 mid-credit scenes. There's nothing after the credits, but Jared Leto was good, but everyone else was one-dimensional. The dialogue was one-dimensional. The technical work was great. Some of the CGI was good, some of it wasn't, but it's just such a bland movie. However, with Venom 2, and this movie, I would put it in the middle. I think it's better than Let There Be Carnage, but
way better.
Yeah, but the first Venom had more going for it, and it was, trying to have more substance. But yeah, it's just an okay movie. So 2.5 for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you have seen Morbius, what did you think? Please put your comment in the comment box below. Let us know. And Dorbius, thank you very much for coming.
Oh, no problem, Robius. Yes. So with that, I have to say good night.
Good night.
And don't let the demons bite.
Yeah, I wish I had a camera with it. Thank you for watching.
Well, you could have.
I could have. Please hit the like button and check out some other movie reviews, including our debate on the new Batman movie. And of course, we have reviews for the 2 Venom movies as well, if you want to check them out, as well as other movies that you can see at home or in the theaters. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.